Well, I think that looks like we've got a good number of people in now. So I'm going to start and say good morning and welcome to the Shopper Intelligence April webinar. Today, we are going to focus on the e-commerce shopper and the category principles for developing this channel. And we've got a really exciting model to share with you today that we've been working for a while developing. I can see from the audience, we've got a number of FMCG experts joining us today, both from the supplier side, but also the retailer side as well, and a lot of expertise in executing products in the bricks environment. I also know there's a number of you joining us, and I can see a few of you there who are experts in the e-commerce channel. This is a channel that has been sort of creeping up on us, this new channel, the online grocery channel. And from a retailer and supplier perspective, it's far more competitive. So we're seeing shoppers switch into shopping both bricks and clicks, and a large number of shoppers regularly shopping in the clicks environment. And as they switch, there's a real opportunity for you guys to win that shopper. But there's also an opportunity for you to lose that shopper that you may have previously secured in the bricks environment. If you can win them in e-com, they tend to be more loyal. So we all know there's a need to act, and there's a need to act quickly. At Shopper Intelligence, we've been known for developing new ways of understanding the shopper and gaining insights into their behaviour. And in the last 3 years, we've been focusing on interviewing e-commerce shoppers, retailers and suppliers to understand the world of e-com. Today, we'd like to share with you some of those learnings, but also introduce you to the category management model for e-commerce. The retail environment, the shopper, and what you can execute in this channel is very different to bricks. So the 4 V's of e-commerce will enable you to focus your investment in the areas that are going to make a difference for your category and brand. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So before we do that, I'm just going to introduce you to the team. I think many of you do know us, but for those of you who don't know me, my name's Nancy Truscott, and it's my role to understand the challenges that suppliers and retailers are facing and help them develop shopper insight solutions that drive category and brand growth. I've spent most of my career on supplier side and in a number of category and shopper roles, but also leading the development of the e-commerce channel. And one of the key learnings that I've had is that you simply can't.
Is that Nancy frozen or me?
Hosting with me today is Ming. Say hi, Ming.
Hi, Nancy. Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Ming. I'm very grateful to Ming today because you may have noticed, and you're certainly going to see my puppet appearing probably in today's webinar, that a few weeks ago I was carrying a vase of flowers across the room and I tripped over the dog. Sounds like the kind of excuse you'd use when you'd forgotten to do your homework, but I fell over and have cut several tendons and nerves, so that's left me one-handed now. So Ming has very kindly taken over the management of the technology for this webinar today. So thanks, Ming. Many of you are going to know her as the absolute guru on e-commerce as well. She spent much of the last couple of years working closely with e-commerce teams at suppliers and has been instrumental in developing solutions to help them better activate their categories. So it's great to have Ming here today. And I know, Ming, you're continually talking to suppliers, so perhaps just tell us a little bit about what are the hot topics in e-commerce for them right now.
Yeah, so a lot of hot topics, a lot of hot questions out there, but if I had to boil it down to one, the main question I'm hearing from suppliers is simply, where do I start and what do I do first?
Okay, it's very similar to what I'm hearing from retailers as well. There seems to be an overall understanding of the e-commerce shopper, but certainly a lack of knowledge at category level. And retailers, when I've been talking to them, have asked for suppliers to bring in more category relevant data for e-commerce. It's relatively new to many businesses that, you know, retailers are still learning, suppliers are learning, and the traditional category management and shelf management principles just can't be directly applied. I also know many of you love to hear from our MD, Simon Ford. He is with us today. He's actually on the chat. So I'm going to ask you if you can open up your chat function. Say hi to Simon. He'd love to hear from you. And also, I'd really encourage you to ask him some really tough questions as we go through today's e-commerce webinar. And he's going to be on point to answer those questions. So what is it about the online shopping environment? We all know it's convenient to sit at home and have products delivered directly to us. But what is it about the actual site we visit? Why do we choose one site over the other? And ultimately, what is the experience that we want when we go onto those sites? Let's start thinking about what it is we enjoy about online shopping. We want that experience to be easy, and we want it to be enjoyable. So I'm going to ask you all to just cast your minds to the last thing that you bought online. And that doesn't have to be a grocery product, but the last thing you bought online. And tell us, what was it that made that shopping experience easy and enjoyable? So for example, was it easy to navigate the site? Was it easy that prices were easy to compare, or you could find lots of information? So just going to give you a minute, hop onto chat, type down what it was you found easy and enjoyable in your last online shop. Minimal clicks required, I can see coming through. That's great, and that's very topical for today. See what else people coming up. Simple, clutter-free, stocked items. Great, seeing a lot of things popping up. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to type your answers into the chat, because I can also see there's a number of new people on this webinar who may not be familiar with shopper intelligence. So whilst you type your answers in, I'll just take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about our business and where we get our insights. Shopper Intelligence has been operating in ANZ grocery for over 15 years now. We are the largest global syndicated shopper insights company, and the only one that's interviewing shoppers in every category, post-purchase, all year round across bricks and clicks. Now, what we do is a little bit different from what you might understand as shopper data in your business. So you might have scan, panel, loyalty data in your business, and they are really valuable sources of data to tell you what the shopper is buying. What we focus on is how and why the shoppers make the decisions they do. And it's these insights that tell you what to do for future growth. It's also important to us that you can have collaborative conversations with retailers. So we ensure that they value our insights, and we work directly with the major retailers, for example, Woolworths, Coles, IGA, Aldi, Countdown, plus over 60 suppliers across grocery, pharmacy and liquor. We want to make sure that when you go into the retailer, you can have sort of less conversations about where the insights come from and more conversations about how you action them. And retailers are using our data to build their category strategies, both in bricks, but also in clicks as well. So it's that unique ability we have to offer benchmarking by the category, channel, and retailer that enables you to get actionable insights. So Ming, you've been sitting there watching that chat. Give me a quick rundown of the things that are coming through.
I have been doing that, Nancy. So yeah, a lot of good answers coming through. Minimal clicks, simple, clutter-free, delivery service, so cheaper than taking the car, easy price comparison, interesting ones, being able to see all the features and ratings and benefits along with the reviews straight away, but a lot coming through.
Yeah, no, I can see some of those, lots of different things. That's great. And I mean, these refer both to grocery environment, but also probably a lot of it refers to shopping for other items in other environments. So let's go and hear from our grocery shoppers and get into some of the data that we've got from the interviews that we've been carrying out with suppliers and retailers. We're going to look at 3 key things today. Firstly, we're going to understand the overall e-commerce shopper in grocery and the challenges that retailers and suppliers are facing in delivering to their needs today. The second thing we're going to look at is introduce you to the way forward to manage your category conversations in the digital environment. And finally, make it simple for you to understand what are the things you need to be focusing on and prioritizing your investment for your specific category. So let's cast our mind back 15 years ago. In those days, really the only place that we could go to shop for grocery was bricks. That was your only choice. But this has been slowly changing, and it was significantly accelerated by COVID. A lot of people were forced to shop online during that time, and we saw some rapid growth in this channel. What also happened was suddenly retailers and suppliers needed to adapt their strategies and start to understand this shopper. What we see today online sort of reminds me of the grocery environment in store 20 years ago. In those days, the stores were cluttered. There was a significant amount of complex communication, and they were difficult to shop with categories misplaced around the store. And we saw the same strategies being implemented across all categories. There were not specific category strategies. Now, in bricks today, that's changed significantly with clear category level strategies implemented by retailers and suppliers. They are doing very different things in different categories to deliver to the shopper's need. And that's made the shopping experience in bricks much easier and enjoyable. But that's not happening in grocery online yet. And we can see that in the results here. As more shoppers adopt online grocery shopping and become more loyal to this channel, they're expecting more. Their expectations are rising, but their satisfaction on what they're getting in e-commerce is declining. And it's declined by over 2% in the last 6 months, and it's actually been declining for the last 18 months. Of course, this is going to be different by category. So some categories are doing it better than others. So what you can see here is the top 3 categories from a satisfaction point of view in e-commerce. So those categories which are delivering the best to shoppers' needs online right now are breakfast cereal, regular crackers, and chocolate bars. But those categories where there's significant concerns are toilet tissue, cat food, and flour. So they have the lowest levels of satisfaction online right now from a shopper's perspective. So a real risk in those categories. And we know how important that pet shopper is online. If we start to break this down by retailer and we start asking shoppers how satisfied they are with the online delivery of the categories by different retailers, we can see that leading the way tends to be the independents right now. So maybe that personalised approach is working a little bit more. And by that, I mean all of those retailers that sell grocery products, excluding Coles and Woolworths. So in there is Catch, Amazon, Harris Farm, IGA, and a whole number of other retailers that sell grocery products. So their satisfaction, the highest level at 55% right now. And actually that has increased a little bit over the last 6 months. Where in Woolworths and Coles, we can see the satisfaction levels slightly lower and they are continuing to decrease. So shoppers are saying, you just need to be doing more. So there's a real opportunity to offer more in those environments right now. And we know that if their needs aren't being met, there's a risk of switching in the future. It's no surprise that satisfaction comes down during times of inflation as price becomes more important to shoppers. So you can see there that satisfaction and price has come down by 2%. And we see a similar trend in bricks as well. But online, it's not just price they're less satisfied with. They're also less satisfied with products, the assortment, and the execution as well. So there's a real opportunity right now for suppliers and retailers to understand what shoppers want in the category and to ensure they are delivering to their needs to win that shopper online. Now, some suppliers are further along this journey. So in the same way that we saw some categories doing it better, we know some suppliers are doing this better. Some are investing heavily in understanding this shopper because they know that although the channel might be small now, it's going to grow. And it's going to be more important, and it's important to win that shopper early. And retailers are really looking for help and guidance on this right now. So where are you on your journey? Let's do a little poll to understand from the audience point of view, where do you think you are on this journey of understanding your shoppers and having collaborative conversations with your retailer? Ming, do you want to take us through this?
Yep. So I see a lot of you have seen the poll pop up now. So this should be coming up on your screens. Is your business having collaborative conversations with the retailer on your category's e-commerce strategy? So have a think about this. No, we haven't focused on this yet. Or having limited conversations with retailers, but the internal focus is good. You've got good progress and initial conversations in place with retailers at the moment. Or having strong category level e-com categories, category level e-com conversations with the retailers now. So I'm seeing a lot of answers already popping in. And I'm going to end it in about 5 seconds. So the last few people. Here we go. So what we're seeing is a good mix here, but most of you are having limited conversations with retailers, but the internal focus is there. So there's definitely opportunity. A few really good, but good progress with initial conversations in place.
Well, it's great to see where people are on that different level, and I think that's when we are talking to suppliers, that's pretty much sort of what we're hearing is a lot have started on that journey, but there's also a lot of people who are sitting in that bucket saying, I'm understanding internally, but I just don't know how to have the right conversations with those retailers. And as Ming mentioned earlier, one of the key questions suppliers do have is just, where do I start? And what do I prioritize by category? So we're going to introduce you to a brand new way of category management, the e-commerce way, with a model that's going to simplify the actions that you need to take in your business and the conversations you need to be having with retailers.
So the e-commerce environment is very different to what we're used to in bricks. So we now have unlimited shelf space, and all the brands and products are not automatically presented to the shopper when they enter a category online. So the traditional category management process has changed, and we need to develop new ways to deliver to shoppers' needs and influence purchase. So if you're like me, you're probably thinking, sure, Ming, but it's an emerging channel. It's hard to know what to do, when to do it, and if it will make a difference. So the good news is we've done this for you. So let me introduce to you the 4 V's of Ecomm. So the 4 V's are the principles of category management in the digital environment. It tells you which levers you must invest in to make a difference, and also pinpoint which to prioritize at a category level. So the principles behind this model follow your shopper's path to purchase. We need to ensure products are visible to shoppers so that they can find them. We need to have the right variety of products to meet their needs, so the right range and innovation. We need to have the relevant voice to get their attention and the right value to capture conversion, which also brings us to our next big challenge, which we're hearing from most people. What do I prioritize? So we use a variety of metrics from our program to understand this. In short, we look at what your category's shoppers are telling us, Then we rank them in priority versus the other 100 categories online. We can also see if your shop is over-indexed versus the average, which also helps us understand how big the opportunity is for your category. And as always, there's basic hygiene factors you need to get right in your category, but the levers we talk to are the differentiators in your category. So these are the ones that can make a difference to your category performance online. So let's look at them one by one. And we'll start with visibility. When we think about maximizing click-through for a category, we need to understand the behaviors of the shopper and their shopping journey. Firstly, how intentional is your category? So we say a category is intentional if its shoppers are highly planned, if it's the main reason they go shopping, and if promos encourage shopping. So example of these are nappies and dog food. So this means visibility for these categories should be emphasized pre-visit and allow for a more simple functional shop on the site. For example, prompting on bought befores and shopping list functions to allow for fewest clicks. On the other hand, there's categories where shoppers buy because they feel like it. For example, chocolate. So these are where on-site disruption is critical as it will drive conversion. And Nancy, I know you have a good example of this that you want to talk to.
Yeah, I do, Ming. And that's leading up to Easter. I do the majority of my grocery shopping online. And I noticed in the lead up to Easter how many pop-ups I was getting for chocolate, which was really relevant. I'd gone sort of in sight to purchase other items, but the whole way through my shopping journey, I was getting pop-ups for chocolate, and I ended up buying it because I knew I was going to need it in the next few weeks. So I would say this is the equivalent of walking around a store and seeing sort of chocolate on the checkouts and seeing it on the gondola ends, the continual reminding that that's something and it was relevant and the timing was right. Now, whereas if I had seen those on dog food, the activations would have made no difference anyhow, because I had already decided what type of dog food I wanted, and I just wanted to find that product quickly and navigate it to it easily.
Thanks, Nancy. Now, let's move on to variety. With endless shelf, what's the right product mix to win placement on the digital shelf? So when we think about variety in a category, we need to know if it's improved range, innovation, or premium tier that we can go after. But again, we need to understand what shoppers want in your category to make a decision on this. So let's look at the first. Do your shoppers have a desire for improved range? And if they do, you'd want to review the current range to see if there's any unmet needs or white space opportunity that you could fill. So let me give you an example with chilled convenience food. They're the #1 category that desires improved range. And we've found that when they're shopping online, they're 2 times more likely to be buying for the lunch occasion than when they're shopping in physical stores. So there's a call for differentiated range by channel here. The second lever here is how important innovation is to your shopper. If it's more important for your category shoppers, then you want to excite with new. So as a supplier, you'd want to innovate, and it's not just MPD, but it can be any appealing new idea or presenting your products in a new and different way. And as a retailer, you'd also want to spotlight anything new in the category. So for example, highlighting your product tiles with try this, or spotlighting or featuring any new. Now, the third lever here is how willing your shoppers are to pay more for better quality or something different. So if they're open to paying more, you'd want to dial up your quality messaging and maybe introduce a premium tier. So a great example from specialty cheese, which is ranked #2 here. So to me, this tile really stood out from the other cheese products on the page as it gave off a real authentic premium feel. The next fee is voice, which is what your category or brand or digital shelf communicates to shoppers. So here we need to understand what message, look and feel will stand out and make an impact to your category shoppers. So firstly, what attributes are important to your shoppers? Is it Australian, sustainability, healthy choices, or authenticity? So which should be your lead cue, and could you do more to dial these up in your communication? Nancy?
I saw an example sort of this. I know you've put Barilla up there, Ming, and my family loves a bit of pasta, and I was shopping for some pasta sauce online in my last shop. And what I saw was that their main tile zoomed in on 100% Italiano and produced since 1877. Is that a good example of a category communicating on the right thing?
Great question, Nancy. So these call outs are very relevant if your shoppers saw this in a physical store, because authenticity is the lead cue for bricks shoppers. But for online pasta sauce shoppers, it's actually healthy cues that that's the most important attribute to them, and it over indexes versus the rest of online. So emphasizing health cues on this image and packaging is more likely to have been an effective lever online.
Okay, so that's a clear example of where it's a different attribute to be talking to the online shopper with versus the brick shopper.
Correct.
Thanks, Ming.
So the second lever here looks to understand if your shoppers prefer to spend time browsing rather than making their choice quickly. So if your shoppers are highly browsing, like in vitamins and supplements, you'd want to invest in strengthening your listing with enriched content that goes above and beyond the basics. So capitalize on your product detail page, enhance your images, and use the image reel wisely. Thirdly, are your shoppers buying with a particular occasion in mind? So if so, how can you make your digital product talk to the relevant occasion and drive excitement around it? So a good example here is pasta, which is talking to Jennifer tonight. And finally, value. So this is about understanding the price mechanics that will best win conversion. Do your category shoppers value fixed low price or high-low offers? Do they have higher expectations for one over the other? So here's the top 5 categories where shoppers tell us fixed low price are the most important in online. So I must admit, I was a bit surprised when I saw energy drinks come in a second. So I looked into it a bit more. And what I found is that when Australians are buying energy drinks online, it's much more so as a general stock up rather than the snacking mindset they have when they're buying it in bricks. So here you'd want to reassure with prices and communicate value through low prices, dropped and locked, etc. On the other hand, here's the top 5 categories where high-low offers are most important. So another surprise for me, so sports drink coming in as the number 1 category. So what I found here is that sports drinks is bought mainly, is more skewed to younger shoppers in online than in bricks, which just adds another layer to the differing needs by channel. So here you'd want to excite with offers and excite and tempt them. And there you have it. So the 4 V's of Ecomm. So this is an objective category toolkit that will help you pinpoint what to invest in, enable you to prioritize these investments, and all at a category level. So from here, I'd really encourage you to take this model into your business and have the conversation about online grocery, but at a category level.
It's great. Ming, I'm just sort of going to pause a little bit there because we've had a couple of interesting questions come through in the chat that I thought it's worth answering. I know Simon's just answered one of them there, which is that, you know, the shopper is an omni shopper in many occasions. There's very few shoppers that only shop online, although what we're seeing is, I think it's sort of around 40% have done their last 3 shops online. So we're seeing more and more loyalty in that. But as Simon says, the insight is that their mindset is different and their needs are different. So it's not black or white in terms of you would completely change your strategy to just communicate one thing in store or just communicate another thing in store. But the priority or the message or the mindset that they're acting on when they're purchasing online can be different. Now, you may still do your pre-store communication and pre-site communication with one clear message, because that's before they've even chosen whether they're going to go into bricks or whether they're going to be going into clicks in the future. But once they actually get into that clicks environment, what you want to make sure is that your voice is with communicating the message that's going to prompt them to purchase based on their mindset at that particular time. So look, I think that's great, Ming. There's obviously a number of levers that are available that are going to make a difference for your category, and all of them very actionable. And as somebody else mentioned, it can be hard to get some of this actioned in the retailers right now today, because they are very early on this journey as well. And there's a role that we all need to play in bringing them along. And they're not ready to act on everything right now. But we can certainly help you with some of those conversations. Now, those conversations are going to be different for each category as they operate in different ways, and shoppers are looking for different things. So understanding your category shoppers will really help you prioritise what you need to go after versus another category. If you can get the 4 V's right, the opportunities are endless. But if you get it wrong, there's a real risk that you're not going to capture the mindset of that shopper when they're shopping online and lose their loyalty. So that's why the 4 V's are important, and you need to know this by that category level. And that's going to lead us to our final section today. So Ming, take us through some categories with the 4 V's, please.
Sure thing, Nancy. So we saw this toolkit. Now let me explain how to read it with some real examples. So I've chosen cat food here for today. The bars represent where the category ranks out of 93 categories online for that particular lever. The higher the bar, the higher the rank, which is shown in the orange bubble. The color of the bar indicates how different your category is to the rest of that, to the rest of online for that lever. So if it's gray, it's just in line with the benchmark. If it's yellow or red, it's an under index. So the greens are the over indexes, and this is where we want to look at. So if it's these levers in green that are the opportunity for you to differentiate and win in your category. So put simply, the taller the bar and the more green the bar, the more you should prioritize that lever, as it's the most likely to make a difference to your shoppers. So looking at visibility here, intentionality stands out as a very tall dark green bar and a very high rank of 8. So cat food is a highly planned destination shop. So you'd want to invest in on-site simplicity and marketing pre-visit. On the other hand, there's barely a bar on buy because I feel like it. So disrupting on site is much less likely to work. Nancy, do you want to take us through the next V?
Sure. Well, if we turn to variety now, we can see that one lever really stands out here. So there's one big green bar, very high, and cat food is ranked number 2 on this. It's the second most important category for shoppers wanting range improved. So a real opportunity for retailers and suppliers to look at the range in this category. Now, the other 2 bars there, you can see they're not very high and they're grey, which means they're in line with the average category, which doesn't necessarily mean that cat food shoppers don't want new or premium, but it's not a differentiator for this category. It's not a lever that should be pulled to change behaviour specifically within this category. So the real focus here is to review the current range as shoppers highly desire improvement, have a look at any gaps in the range, understand the profile of the shopper, what they're looking for, understand if there's any white space, but also their mindset when they're shopping this category.
Thanks, Nancy. So now let's look at voice. So we can quickly see that there are no greens here. So it's interesting that voice is less of a priority than the other V's so far. So they're not buying for an occasion, which makes sense for cat food. They're also not wanting to browse. So it's not about enriching your content. There's also no specific messaging here that they want called out. And it makes sense, as we know cat food shoppers are very intentional and know what they want already. So they've already made that decision. So Nancy, let's look at value and see if it's about prices.
Yeah, look, it seems as though it is, with both levers on value being light green. So value is important to cat food shoppers, particularly fixed low prices. This is ranked number 6. So the 6th most important category where shoppers are saying, I want price reassurance. So online shoppers are looking for you to bring consistent value in the category, reassure and communicate that this category is always a good value through fixed low price, for example. But likewise, we can also see in this category that we've got a green on importance of offers. So they want high low as well, and it's ranked number 20, so still very high here. So you'd also want to make sure you balance your sort of I'm bringing you good value with promo activity and special offers.
So to wrap up cat food, you'd want to prioritize on-site simplicity, pre-site marketing, review the current product range, and get the balance of value right. Let's look at another example quickly. So I've got muesli and snack bars here, and I'm going to turn to voice first because this is where we can see the highest ranks and also the most greens. So the priority here is to talk to the relevant occasion, enrich content as shoppers are browsing, and to lead with healthy choices as they have higher expectations on it than other categories. There's also a dark green bar in visibility. So muesli bar shoppers tell us that they often buy because they feel like it, much more so than the average shopper. So the priority here is to invest in on-site theatre and disruption. And it could be through multiple touch points, and we can look further into which would be the most effective based on their shopping journey. And there's one more bar to focus on, and that's down in variety. So new and different are more important to muesli bar shoppers than in other categories. So you'd want to excite with new. So, it's going to wrap that slide up. But if you play muesli and snack bars, you now know exactly what levers to invest in and which to prioritize to make a difference in your category online.
Hi, Chris. I know you've mentioned, can we make it bigger? I don't think we can actually make these slides bigger as we go through this webinar, but what we will do is we will send you a copy of the deck after the webinar, so then you can have a look at them at your leisure. Look, I think, Ming, we've had the opportunity to cover two categories. We are sort of getting down to the last 5 minutes of the webinar, and we obviously don't have time to cover every single category in this webinar, but we do have this available for all categories. So please come and talk to us if you want to understand the 4 V's for your category after this webinar. There is one more thing we can do today though, and that's sort of flip this around. So rather than looking at a category and the 4 V's for that category, what we're going to do is just look at one of the levers. So for example, intentionality, that's what you can see on your screen here. Because we interview across hundreds of categories, we can start to understand exactly where your category ranks on each metric. And what you can see here is the top 10 intentional categories within e-commerce. So this is e-commerce data, and it will be different to bricks data. So if your category is here, it means that you need to consider focusing on on-site simplicity, fewest clicks, and also marketing pre-visit, because it's a highly intentional category. Likewise, if we flipped to the other end and looked at the bottom 10, they would be the categories where you would need to be interrupting and disrupting the shopper whilst they're on their insight journey to prompt them to purchase. So do you know where your category sits on this list? If you don't know, the list of all the categories we cover is available. What I'd ask you to do is, if you want to have access to that list, can you just type yes into the chat now? And we will be able to, after this webinar, go back and look at the people who have requested to get a list of all the categories, and we will send that through to you post this webinar. So see lots of yeses coming up. Now remember that we do have that list for every V metric as well. But to just wrap up today and have a quick recap of what we've learned, I'm just going to leave you with 3 key things. The first one is it's really important to understand why your shopper buys your category online. So not just what they're doing, but why they make the decisions they do, because that gives you the data that enables you to action and pull certain levers to make a difference for the future. The second thing is prioritise across the 4 Vs. Don't try and do everything everywhere. Take the right solutions by channel, by segment, and by brand. And invest in those areas that are going to be differentiators for your category. And the last thing is align with the retailer. And I know we are very early in this journey in those conversations with the retailers. So, you know, what I would say is move quickly to start leading those conversations in your category with the retailer. And we as a business can help you connect and have those conversations if you need us to, both with your retailer, but also internally to bring your teams together within your business to understand the e-commerce shopper. So that was going to be it from us today. I know it's a very, very thin sort of slice of what we've got available in our e-commerce program, but this category management model, the digital e-commerce model, the 4 Vs, is really important for your conversations. And if you want to know more, you can reach out to any of the Shopper Intelligence team, or my contact details are there. So if you want to understand the 4 Vs for your category and more about what we've been doing in e-commerce, please reach out. Thank you, Simon, for manning the chat and keeping that going and answering questions. Thank you very much for Ming for taking over as my second hand in today's webinar, and I hope you all enjoyed it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.